Hey guys, it's me Seren, back with another video. Today will be our 13th hidden figure, Aminah Brenda Lynn Robinson, who was born February 18th, 1940 and died May 22nd, 2015, and was a prolific American artist who represented Black American history through art. An advocate for social justice as well as women's and Black American history, Robinson was awarded a MacArthur Genius Grant in 2004. Robinson was born Brenda Lynn on February 18, 1940, to Leroy and Helen Robinson in Columbus, Ohio. She was raised within the close-knit community of Poindexter Village, one of the nation's first public housing projects. Poindexter Village was constructed where Blackberry Patch, a semi-rural neighborhood historically populated by Black Americans, had previously been located and retained many of the original residents. Storytelling, a reverence for elders, and promotion of creativity were held in deeply high regard in the community, greatly influencing Robinson's childhood. Her great-aunt Cordelia, known by everyone as Aunt Annie, was a former slave who taught her about slavery and other stories of Black history. She also shared vivid recollections of life in Blackberry Patch before it was Poindexter Village, which included folk tales about characters such as the Crow Man and the Chickenfoot Woman. Robinson began to draw the stories as a primary mode of communication before learning how to talk around the age of 5. Much of her adult work would go on to be specifically about Columbus and Poindexter Village in particular, but also sought to speak universally to Black American communities all over the country. Her father encouraged her to draw from the age of 3 and taught her how to work with raw materials and items such as charcoal, glass, leather, seashells, animal hides, clay, rope, and wood. He also taught her the use of rabbit skin glue and his own creation of a substance called HawgMawg, which consisted of brick dust, red clay, mud, glue, twigs, leaves, animal grease, and lime. They used HawgMawg to craft everything from homemade notebooks to two-dimensional and three-dimensional pieces at home. HawgMawg and other objects, including paint, ink, metal, and animal skins obtained from a Columbus slaughterhouse, remained a staple of her sculptural materials throughout her life. Her mother also taught her how to sew and weave, working with buttons, fabric, needlepoint, ribbons, and yarn, and she used a combination of both fabric arts and HawgMawg in her work, becoming recognized for her use of recycled and ecologically sustainable materials. Robinson was very involved with the civil rights movement of the 1950s and participated in the 1963 March on Washington, inspiring her art piece Unwritten Love Letter, March on Washington. She attended East High School in Columbus and received her formal art training at the Columbus Art School, now the Columbus College of Art and Design, from 1957 to 1960. In 1958, Robinson got a job at the Columbus Public Library, where she did illustrations and also studied the history of the city's Black American neighborhoods. She then studied art history and philosophy at Ohio State University from 1960 to 1963, along with studying at Franklin University and Columbus's Bliss College. Columbus barber and artist Elijah Pierce, who she met in 1968, was also a mentor of hers. Before his barbershop was razed by Columbus State Community College to build a parking lot, his artistic wood carvings were displayed in his shop and known throughout central Ohio. On her site, she reveres him, stating, "Elijah Pierce was my spiritual mentor and friend. He was a great person, a great artist, and a person who walked with integrity and passed on so much of that wisdom to me. We just generally liked to be around each other." She credited Pierce with helping her learn to listen to her inner voice, heart, and ancestors in her art creation. In 1974, she purchased a house on Columbus's east side, which would double as her art studio. Her tools, supplies, research, and inspiration would film every room, with everything from murals painted on the doors to her son's baby teeth installed in a floor tile mosaic. Robinson was known for working day in and day out, getting up with the sun, going to bed late at night, and sleeping only a few hours before starting again. She believed art making was a never-ending activity and continually revisited and reworked old works. While living in the house, she began creating one of her most famous pieces, Gift of Love, an ornate chair made of scrap materials. On her site, Robinson stated about the work, "I started this chair in 1974. I was trying to find furniture for the house, so I said, I need to build a chair. I didn't really have the materials, so my father and friends gave me scraps. It represents my family and community. That's what the chair is about, life in Columbus." Though she never considered the piece finished, it was resolved in 2002 and gifted to the Columbus Museum of Art. In order to remove it, a wall had to be removed from her home. Robinson agreed on the condition that a new wooden door on which she could paint and carve be installed. From 1971 to 1990, she also worked as an art director with Columbus Recreation and Parks Department. She taught art, puppetry, and spinning on a wheel at Beatty Park Recreation Center. In 1979, after taking a trip abroad to study, Robinson adopted the name Aminah, changing her name legally to include the forename in 1980. In 1984, she received the Ohio Governor's Award for the Visual Arts. In 1990, the Columbus Metropolitan Library commissioned her to create 40-foot panels that would illustrate historic Black American neighborhoods within the city. The large-scale, intricate masterwork called Life in Sellsville, 1871 to 1900, and Life in the Blackberry Patch, 1900 to 1931, took 2 years to complete, debuting in 1992. This commission by Columbus Metropolitan Library allowed Robinson to create art full-time after several decades of struggling financially. In 2004, she was awarded the MacArthur Genius Grant through the MacArthur Fellows Program. The program recognized her as a folk artist who excelled in celebrating themes of family, ancestry, and the grandeur of simple objects in drawings, paintings, and large-scale mixed-media assemblages, stating her art is historically and geographically grounded. Her work has been displayed at the Columbus Museum of Art, the Akron Art Museum, the Esther Sachs Gallery, the National Museum for Women in the Arts in Washington, D.C., the Tacoma Art Museum, and the Brooklyn Museum. Robinson has been the subject of nearly 200 solo and group exhibitions, writing and illustrating several art books along with children's picture books. She is also known for creating raganons, enormous narrative scrolls made out of long pieces of painted fabric. The title raganon alludes to the extreme length, as Robinson said the pieces rag on and on. The largest raganon was 118 feet long and weighed 200 pounds. Some took decades to complete. The Water Street raganon, which depicts Black Americans living daily life in downtown Columbus, took 25 years. She often kept the raganons rolled up in her driveway and living room when they weren't in use. She sold works rarely and only if she approved of the buyer. They commanded prices of up to $20,000 apiece. One of her last works was the collection Aminah's Presidential Suite, which honored the election of President Barack Obama. On May 22, 2015, Robinson died of a heart complication at 75. She left all of her belongings to the Columbus Museum of Art. In honor of what would have been her 80th birthday, the museum established the Aminah Robinson Legacy Project to continue to promote and spread awareness of her work. As part of the project, the museum transformed her house into a residency area for Black artists. The ribbon cutting for the Aminah Robinson residency took place in July after a renovation project supported by a $200,000 Columbus Foundation grant. Her most recent exhibit, Raggin' On, The Art of Aminah Brenda Lynn Robinson's House and Journals, opened in 2020 and continued through October 3, 2021, presenting more than 200 works of visual and literary art. Robinson was known for having a larger-than-life personality, Deirdre Hamler, the co-curator of the Columbus Museum of Art, said. She said that when most Black people were trying to assimilate and fit in, she definitely was not that person. And for my closing quote from Aminah Robinson, her aim, Aminah often said, was to make art that fills in the blank pages of African American history. The shops and houses in the paintings, long gone, reclaim what once had been visible. For me, art is not a job or a career, Robinson told the Cleveland Plain dealer. It is a way of life, always has been. And that is Aminah Brenda Lynn Robinson, a hidden figure. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. There will be links and information in the description box. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.